Hi everyone, hi Algebra 2. So this is your first video of our flipped classroom. I do apologize for the books on the side of the screen. It's my makeshift tripod, if you will. So we're going to get started today with Chapter 1, Section 1. Chapter 1 is Equations and Inequalities. Section 1 is Expressions and Formulas. Once again, I'm hoping a lot of this is review for you. Our goals for this video are to use the order of operations to evaluate expressions and to use formulas. First, let's start with a couple vocab words. And all of these have blanks on your guided notes, so feel free to follow along with me. So first we have a variable, which is, we've used these a lot, a letter used to represent an unknown quantity. Again, we've used that a lot in the past. Also, we need to know what an algebraic expression is. And that is a mathematical phrase with at least one variable and no equal sign. No equal sign on those. And our last vocab word for now is the order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. PEMDAS will define what that means in just a moment. This is, of course, the standard order for evaluating an expression, just so we all do it the same way. So my answer is the same as yours and yours is the same as mine. So let's break down what PEMDAS stands for. So P, usually we say that is parentheses, but it is more than that. All grouping symbols are included in parentheses. So those can include parentheses, but it also includes brackets, the squared off ones, and curly braces, and absolute value bars, and fraction bars. This is the one that most people forget. Something like that. A fraction bar tells us that you need to separate the top from the bottom, work with the numerator and denominator separately before you combine the numerator and the denominator. Then we have E, our exponents. Nothing really interesting about those, just make them happen after you do all the grouping symbols inside. Then we have multiplication and division. I'm putting these on the same line because you want to make sure you do these from the left to the right. It actually doesn't matter if you do division before multiplication, just work from the left to the right. The same is true for addition and subtraction. Again, you can do subtraction first, but the standard convention is go from the left of the expression to the right of the expression. Okay, and once again, all of that should be review for you. So let's move on to some examples. First example, I would like us to evaluate this expression m plus the quantity p minus 1 quantity squared if m equals 3 and p equals -4. Again, hopefully this is review for you guys. First thing we're going to do is plug in these variable values into our expression. So I have 3 plus -4 minus 1 quantity squared. We are going to work inside of our grouping symbols first. I get a -5 squared. Make sure you keep those parentheses on. That is very important. If you were to plug in -5 squared, just like that on your calculator, the answer would be -25, which is not what we want to happen in this case. This is -5 being squared, and we know that anything squared is supposed to be a positive number. So I'm going to work with my exponents next. -5 squared. I get a positive 25. And finally, I'm going to add. I get 28 as my final answer. There we go. So that was example 1. Let's move on to example 2. I'm going to flip my page here. And remember, you can pause this video at any time that you need to go back and look at the examples a little bit longer. Okay, let's do another example. How about a little more complicated? Again, I'd like us to evaluate the expression. Our expression this time is j squared minus 3h squared k all over j cubed plus 2 if h is 4, j is -1, and k is 0.5. There we go. Alrighty, so here we are. We have all of these. We're going to plug them in. So I have -1 in parentheses squared, so the negative is attached, minus, and I'm going to put all of these guys in parentheses, 3 multiplied by h squared multiplied by k all over j in parentheses to the third power plus 2. Grouping symbols here, we have that fraction bar. I'm going to work in the numerator separately from the denominator before we work with them together. So -1 squared, I'm going to get a +1 minus, in this little chunk here, I'm going to work with my exponents first. So I have 4 squared. So I have a 3/16 is that 4 squared and a 0.5. Exponents down here, I have -1 to the third power. I know that a negative times a negative times a negative gives me -1 to the third power is 1. I'm going to add that too. Now I have some more multiplication in this area right here. I'm going to work with the 0.5 times the 16 first, since that's a really nice multiplication fact. I get 1 minus, I still have my 3, half of 16 is 8. Over, and since my denominator is separate, I can go ahead and do this addition. -1 plus 2, I get a 1. That's nice in our denominator. Okay, so then I'm going to have 1 minus, do my multiplication before my subtraction, 24 all over 1. Do my subtraction up top, 1 minus 24, I get -23 over 1. Now that I have finally completely simplified the numerator and the denominator, I can finally work with them together. And when I work with them together, I see that I'm just dividing by 1, so my final answer is -23. There we go. Alrighty, now the next one I'm going to do, I'm going to write it out, and we are going to go through it, but I would like you guys to try it before I give you the answer. So let's try one of these. Okay, I would like you to work on this one. This is example 3. Oop, you guys can't see that out of the screen there. There we go. Example 3, again, we're going to evaluate this expression. H squared k plus h times the quantity h minus k. Same variables as before. If h is 4, j is -1, k is 0.5. So, take a minute. The video is going to pause in a little bit, and you have to answer the question before the video will let you keep watching. Try this one. Try it on your own, see what answer you get, and then keep watching the video and see if you got it right. So here's me finishing this problem. I'm going to plug in these values. Here we go. I have h squared times k plus h times h minus k. I'm going to do my exponents. Well, nope, I should do the order of operations correctly. Hold on. We have, in parentheses first, 4 minus 0.5, 1/2. So I have 4 squared times 0.5 plus 4 times 3.5. Now I'm going to do my exponents next. 4 squared, I get 16. Still times that 0.5 plus 4 times 3.5. So now I have 2 sets of multiplication. I'm just going to go from the left to the right. Half of 16, I'm going to get 8 plus 4 times 3.5. I don't have a calculator with me right now, so I'm just going to go off to the side here. Do a little multiplication. I get 14. That's nice. And then finally, I'm going to do my addition here. Final answer, 22. So hopefully you got that too when you were going through this problem. Now, I have one more thing that we need to talk about today, again in the realm of expressions, but first we have one more vocab word that we need to talk about, and that is a formula. You guys have probably used formulas in the past, but here's the official definition. This is a mathematical equation that expresses the relationship between certain quantities. These are used a lot in the sciences for real-life situations. And they work just like expressions. The order of operations still holds true. So let's do an example. Let's pretend we have a tornado. And we know that this tornado has a radius of 75 meters. Let me use a different color here. 75 meters right there. And we know that from the ground to the top of the cyclone spiral, the height here from the ground, the height is 225 meters. So pretty tall, pretty wide. And the formula for the volume of this cone, it's just an upside down cone, you might remember this from geometry class. Its volume is equal to 1/3 pi radius squared h, the height. So what I want to know is, based on this 75, 225, what is the volume? How much wind is spinning around in this space? So we have volume, which we don't know, 1/3 times pi. There's either going to be a pi button on your calculator, or you can just use 3.14. If you want to go fancier, 1/5 to keep going. The radius is 75. I'm squaring that. The height is 225. When you multiply all of that into your calculator, and I would recommend using parentheses if you're typing in 1/3, 1 divided by 3. When you type all of that in, you roughly get, with pi it's not going to be exact, but you get 1,325,359. Now this is volume, and I'm working in meters here, so this is meters cubed. That's just your unit. We don't have to do the exponent there. This is just your unit of cubic meters. There we go. So right now, my final question before this video is over is this. What questions do you have? Look through your notes, maybe watch the video again. What questions do you have? Write a question for me when the box pops up, and finish the video. It'll be just a few seconds after that to finish off the video. And I will see you in class either tomorrow or in a couple days, whenever this video is due, and we will go through some practice problems with expressions and formulas. Have a good day.